Wendy Hodgson here. I'm a physical therapist, exercise physiologist specializing in the John F. Barnes Myofascial Release Approach. And I am excited to be here for our second round of myofascial therapists talking about recently attending the Myofascial Unwinding course in Sedona. So if you didn't see it previously, a couple weeks ago, we put out a podcast with Rochelle and Craig, and welcome back, you guys.
Hello.
Glad
Good
to
to
be
see you.
back.
We are introducing Jill tonight, or today. I guess it is tonight. And Jill was also at the same course with us. And I think the cool thing is, Jill, did any of us know you before the course?
No. The beauty of John Barnes seminars is we've become instant family.
So let me just give a little bit of background about this. Of course, we're all there at this course, and I think it was the second, or maybe it was the second day that you talked, Jill. It's all a blur now today. But all of us were really touched by your share, and I just, we all thank you very much for your strength to share what you did at that course. And so we really wanted to talk about it, and grateful that you're willing to be vulnerable here in this space to help not just us, but others. And I know that the class was quite full, and I know other people felt this way at the class. And we really just want to give you the floor right now to be able to share. And then we'll just see how that organically flows as we all kind of chime in with whatever comes up. So Jill, tell us about your journey, how you ended up here, and whatever you're guided by.
Sure. Well, again, I'm grateful to be here, Craig, Cindy, and Rochelle. I was in a snowboard accident when I was 29 and did all the traditional therapies because that's what is offered in our very Newtonian world. And many surgeries, a lot of disappointment. A lot of therapists and doctors saying, there's nothing else we can do for you. And I know I speak for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. So already at a young age, that was setting in this is the way you are, you're broken. And so I just kind of powered through, but, to talk about things like emotions, like, of course I have depression, that was also poo-pooed by many advanced clinicians. And it starts to define who you are. Even though somewhere deep inside of me, I know I'm a leader, I know I'm in a way that I can give to people and love people, I felt stunted. I felt my peers were growing and evolving and creating, and I was almost staying tethered to a desperate pain that I didn't realize at the time was also tied in, because emotions, we know, are stored in the fascia, was losing my mother and my brother and my stepfather when I was 15. I felt stunted then too. Like, everyone is going off in the world and making these wonderful things of their lives, and I just felt like I was playing a role, but never really involved in anything in my life. Like, I was on the sidelines. So MFR came to me beautifully by accident. My daughter had broken her ankle through the growth plate, and my mentor at the time, which I didn't understand MFR, I just thought he was this cool, amazing dude. He did unwinding on her ankle. And there were about 5 of us in the room and watched, and I was a bit taken back. She was either 9 or 10, and she started speaking in a little tiny baby voice when it happened to her. And she was talking about the rooms at the hospital and the fears and the smells, and I really was just in shock. And then as he spoke with her while he was starting off body and going in closer and closer to her ankle breaks, he was able to touch her, which she was never able to be touched. Anyway, after this unwinding, it was about an hour, she jumped up off the massage table and hugged him and ran up the stairs. And it's the first time she's been able to run. So I was honestly like, okay, there is something to this John Barnes myofascial release, but that was the tip of the iceberg. So I followed this physical therapist. I shadowed him for a good year. I worked across the hall from him as a PTA, terrified because I'd never taken John's classes. I had just taken, uh, listened to my mentor, and all of a sudden people were getting better. I worked in an orthopedic uh, PT outpatient clinic for many years. So when I finally asked him to treat me, which took some nerve because I've been very passive, which I again believe is part of trauma, like a freeze response, which I've since learned. I started walking without pain. Things started feeling better on a level I couldn't quantify, on a quantum level. But again, I was not aware of quantum dynamics. I was in a mechanical world. This is the way you are. So the deeper and deeper I went with my mentor, I started realizing this was something that I couldn't quantify, that there was not an ICD-9 code for, that people kept coming back. This was huge, right? This was mind-boggling. So he retired, and I thought, well, I need a new mentor. Finally went to John's classes. So I'd never quite picked up on the unwinding for myself or for others until this past unwinding class. There was a beautiful collective energy there that I believe took us all to the next level of the unexplainable. But through our experiences, um, again, that's what we need to be looking at rather than something we can put in a box. So when I received the unwinding, um, as we're taught to stay calm, relaxed, let ourselves go, all that cueing, I was able to do that. But that night is when I started bawling uncontrollably. And of course, the way we are taught subconsciously is don't cry, don't do that. What's wrong with you? It's just me and myself in my room, and these questions are coming in. Like we're all taught, where are the tissues? And yet John's like, nope, nope, you have to feel to heal. You have to go into the chaos in a safe place. No safer place than an MFR seminar. So the bawling continued, and it wasn't something physical. It wasn't something tangible. It's not someone could record and say, Jill cried for 45 minutes. I recommend Cymbalta. It was a beautiful pouring out of the deepest part of me. And it wasn't a painful letting out. It was beautiful. Cleansing. And so I realized that the times in my life where I also would bawl or I'd have hives or I'd avoid situations, I'd avoid people, I was hiding from feeling. And I can say for the first time in my life at almost 55 years, ever since I came back from this unwinding seminar, there is a piece that lives in me, which John refers to, I believe, as the inner child. She's free. And I really feel with this newfound peace, unstoppable in the most beautiful, peaceful way. Not a Newtonian way, but just an open, beautiful way of, I can hardly wait to get into my office now to help people. And I can look at myself in the mirror and not feel shame or, gosh, what took me so long to get here? That was a big one. Everyone would come to, oh, you're so strong. I'm like thinking, I'm not strong. I am broken. But that's, again, that's another phrase you're told when trauma happens. Oh, you're so strong. No, we're not. I was not. But now I have a strength that comes through uh, because I was able to heal in this safe place with all that chaos. And I continue, which is so important for people listening. You can continue to heal. This is not again, it's not a script. It's not talk therapy. It is something unwinding in the deepest part of you. aching and yearning for freedom. And so that's where I'm at today. And I am thrilled to be able to share this because there's no way I would have been able to share this even a few years ago. So absolutely life changing, life altering.
Wow, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I have a couple of questions just
Sure.
to fill in the blanks and then we can talk further. So you were a PTA
Correct.
when you first, which is a physical therapy assistant for those who might not know, when you had your daughter receive treatment, correct?
Yes. Yes.
So, okay. So was that your first introduction then to this gentleman who was the PT who was doing MFR?
That is correct. He had worked with John many, many years ago when John was first starting out.
Hmm.
But in his defense, he didn't teach me what John Barnes myofascial release really is. He just did it. And
Hmm.
so I missed a lot. I didn't understand that unwinding was also an emotional
Hmm.
um, thing. So I was still not sure what was happening. I really thought it was just bizarre, woohoo, like what's my kid is special. I didn't realize that that was normal way of unwinding when you're like kids, babies, and animals. There's nothing in your way. No channel 3. Is that
Channel
right?
three is, yeah, channel three is the heart centered, right?
That's where we want to be.
Channel five
Yeah.
is the brain, right?
Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're all channel 3. So
channel five, channel five.
look at,
They're channel five.
thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
My daughter was channel 3, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
And
Mm.
so of course
yeah,
she healed. And
sure.
now I understand, of course she healed. There was
Yeah,
nothing, no
yeah.
systems or paradigms or set beliefs in her way.
Now
And
that
she's
was
still
a
doing well,
traditional, that was a traditional physical therapy type practice, correct?
except for him.
Except for him. Well, but I mean, it was under that umbrella, right?
You
You were
got it.
at a, right. So
That's
that's
correct.
kind of, and that's where most of us who are PTs especially, who've worked in the medical field, which I did, and have broken off, and we all have broken off in our,
Right.
because we do have that channel 5 mentality, which is that very black and white type of head from the head analytical type place. So, right.
Yes.
Okay. So that helps me understand that a little bit. So, was this your first unwinding course? You've taken unwinding before. Is that correct?
I have not taken an unwinding course because
Okay.
we have a really great MFR group up here. So we do group
Okay.
unwindings here.
Okay.
That was actually my first, was
Okay.
working with quite a few people up here. There's about 20 of us.
Okay. Right.
But this was in a class forum, yes.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
definitely some power with that
Oh,
group. So
yes.
I know. So Craig, you and Jill, I believe, paired up together at some point, right?
Correct.
Could I have you guys kind of share that? How did that start? How did that go?
Yeah, go ahead,
Let's
Craig.
remember. Yeah, let's remember. Yes, so we paired up, and then we were sat close by and said, "Okay, let's work together." And I think I went first, so I was receiving.
Yes,
And how did we start? I think maybe we were even on the ground. I'm not sure.
correct. You
It
were
was something like
supine
that.
on the
Weren't it?
ground.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
And we're in unwinding, so I let go, and my body started to unwind, and shook and moved. And I'm going to pass over to you because we checked in after that, and your response was really interesting. So remind and share with everybody what you shared.
I'm forgetful too, but I think something we never forget is again the experience that has no words, is being able to share on that level of safety and being present with you unwinding. There's never just really one person unwinding because of the energy. um and I felt again, the authentic unwinding, whatever you were going through was so special, and it was equally special as a caregiver to hold that space for you. It was powerful, very powerful. And I don't think we really spoke about what it is you went through, but it again, it's that intangible electricity, if you will, of the unwinding, that something very special was happening. Um, and I do forget what I said, Craig, because
I
I
think
forget.
just, well, exactly that. We kind of,
Yeah.
we come to, and I think you said, yeah, you'd been in, you were familiar with MFR, you've been doing it a little while, but there's, and we talked in our previous gathering when you were in part one, that the layers and depth of this and the sort of reminder and the maintenance and the re-inspiration we get from working with different people in different times.
Mhm.
And this is also, again, I want to reiterate the power that was in that space in the room with the collective and that amount of people, and which is palpable, and I felt that from my first series. I'm like, wow, this is quite incredible. And John does that. He gets people in the little pressure cooker, the tables close together to create that space, to increase that connection. And I think you said it was kind of felt a bit re-inspiring, which then sort of made me realize that the power of receiving the treatment and letting go and trusting your therapist, and that two-way street, that 50-50 of letting go and then trusting, and then the person being with you for that, to support you in that, to then help them to then, when we swapped over, to let
Correct.
go.
Yeah.
And I think I literally, and it was this is it, this repeating seminars, it wasn't a leg pull.
Yes.
It was literally being with you, next to you on the ground. And I think I literally just took your leg out of gravity,
Yeah.
and then we just stayed. And we stayed like we'd just been seen in the demonstration.
Yeah.
We stayed. And that connection, you know,
Agree. For
ramped
me,
up.
it was the first time abandoning Channel 5. And I think we talked about that. I had been in Channel 5 in previous seminars, the analytical, the logical thinking, when you're even saying, nope, I'm relaxed, I'm calm, but you're still plugged into thinking. For me, I recall now that it truly melted away, and the Channel 3 it truly was so abundant. And that's what made this such um, an incredible unwinding for us, is realizing we are further than we were, which is our goal, right, as therapists, to be completely centered, as John reminds us, and to let whatever happens in Channel 3. And so I recall that as well.
Great. Yeah, it was noticeable on throughout the, again, I mentioned this in our last getting together, us traveling a long distance. We'll usually go for the full shebang and go for the full seminars, and roll our sleeves up and get into it. And I said before that, yes, there was this fantastic experience, but I'm still in there. There's some little process going on in here, and I'm feeling into that, and there's more to go. It's not over yet. It never is. And I'm kind of self-treating and feeling into that, and it's taking some, consistency. But and I think later is either that same day or the next day, there's a really challenging unwind for me, and I'll repeat that again, that I had to have John's word with me to feel that fear and do it anyway and go with it. And so, yeah, the entire experience of meeting and working with you, and then we've got 3 people, we're all kind of in there. I work with you. I've worked with all of you here. It's incredibly powerful, and on it goes. Yeah, deeper and deeper.
Yep.
Jill, was there any moment where or can you recall, thinking back, that the trauma that you went through when you were younger, even the idea that might be what was holding you back or creating your pain? Did you ever have that idea before this seminar came up? Yeah.
That's a great question, because my entire life, and I hope people are listening, you don't feel quite that you've reached your optimal human potential. You really feel, the best word I can say is stunted. Um, I know we all deal with trauma differently, but I'm just hoping people who've done the therapies, the cognitive therapies, all the things, the pharmacies, the whatever it is, you do get some great tips. There's a great need for so many therapists, and there's great books, and you can read till you're crazy, and you can go into religion, but the application of how do I heal? This is all great, and I know it, and I'm reading it, and I understand it, but how do I get from A to B? And so John Barnes, MFR, brought that to fruition as a woman my age. That's unbelievable. And it's exciting to think people can also become untethered from these pains. But I didn't understand that it was possible until I truly jumped in with 2 feet and truly let go. And I think that's what I want people to take from this is, we love our systems. We love, and which is do not serve us. So truly letting go is when I realize, oh, these things have held me back my entire life. Absolutely. So
Yeah.
I'm free now.
Beautiful.
I can truly say that. That's bizarre to say that I'm really free. It's a wonderful place to be.
So from the time you were 15, so and you said this is like 40 years of holding on and bracing yourself. When you shared that at the seminar, Rochelle and I were sitting next to each other.
Yeah.
She could feel me, I could feel her, and we both were just like, oh, like, because that struck both of us. And I know for me, and then I want you to share your thoughts, Rochelle. I'm an only child, and my parents were only children, or at least my mom actually wasn't, but she thought she was, or I thought she was. So my family unit was very small, and I always had this fear of losing them, that I would be left, And so when you shared that at 15 you had lost your whole family, I just like that whole heart in my gut feeling. I could feel it like want to rise here. And I had worked through so much of that fear through my MFR journey, but hearing you say that brought up a lot of that for me again, like just that I had been carrying, and I just couldn't even imagine, what you had gone through. So often in this work, we remind people that they survived through whatever trauma they lived. My fear was that I would survive. I didn't want to be the survivor ever, right? I wanted to be the one
legitimate.
To go before anyone else, because I didn't want to go through that pain. So that's what I felt when you shared. And then Rochelle, you had another experience. Let me give you a chance to share your thoughts about all of this.
Yeah, it definitely just struck me, your story, Jill, sitting there in the seminar, like you said, you've all said it was a big course. There's a lot of people in the room. There was a really beautiful energy. And when you got up and shared your story about your family, like Cindy said, when we were sitting next to each other, we both felt it in our hearts and in our throats. And I think, between that story, and then you also shared the story at the seminar about your daughter being treated and that whole experience. And, I'm just always struck by all the different facets and stories and traumas that John Barnes MFR can help people heal from. And, you mentioned all the other therapies, and, I'm a PT. So I think, I helped a lot of people as a traditional PT. It wasn't that I didn't, but this work just takes it to such another level. And on top of, you have other cognitive therapies, like you mentioned, whether it's psychologists or psychiatry or EMDR, or, there's so many different things, and they can all be helpful and a piece of the puzzle. But Barnes MFR is it's so fully encompassing of mind, body, spirit, and being able to really fully trust your therapist and that you're working with, and know that there's so much inside of us that our bodies hold on to. Like our bodies are always there, right? They've been with us since conception. So our tissues remember everything, whether we remember it cognitively or not. Our tissues remember everything. And what's so beautiful about this work is that if you can trust and you can, let go, meaning just, stay in that channel 3, just in the feeling and the intuition, rather than like, what's happening? Should I be feeling this? Can I feel this way? Can I move this way? Is this correct? Like all those things that go on in our brains. I shouldn't be crying. I shouldn't be feeling this, because as adults, we've been taught, through our education and through just life that, don't cry, don't say that, don't move that way, don't, hold back or whatever. There's so much limitation in traditional allopathic medicine that I think, it takes us a while as adults to kind of zone in and come into that channel 3. But when we do, and we're in a seminar with people that we trust and that we feel that energy, collective energy, or with a therapist or a group of therapists that know this work and we can trust, it's just always, it never ceases to amaze me, the stories that come out of people of like what they've been through and how they have healed their trauma through this work. And so we didn't actually meet at all until the end of the seminar. It was completely done. We were standing outside. I think Cindy and I traveled together, so I was waiting for her and outside, and I saw you, and I just felt so compelled to say something to you, to just say thank you for sharing your story, because I think it just meant so much to so many people in that room. And actually, you didn't even share the full story that when you stood up about your family. You just said you lost your family at 15, and that was kind of all you said. But my goodness, I mean, just for you to say that, and then to learn more of your story, and then your daughter's story, and then I think it was on our Facebook page, our MFR Insight Facebook page, that you shared more fully your story about your snowboarding accident. I mean, it was a you alluded to it here, you mentioned the accident, but it was like a super serious accident. You were very debilitated from it. And, the fact that you are walking and working and I mean, it's just so amazing. I know it's a journey, but I mean, this work is just so powerful that it can help people through things like that. It's,
Yes.
I don't know. So I have no words. It's just so powerful.
No worries. It is. Thank you. It is beyond powerful. Yeah. The unexplained, right? When there are no answers, then that it becomes the answer itself through our experiences. They may not be measurable or quantifiable, but oh boy, are they important. They're important to each other's souls. They're important to share. Yeah.
And I want to thank you, Rochelle, for listening to that inner guidance to reach out to Jill, because then we all were standing there together, and then we came up with this idea, because there are people that need to hear what we all have to say. So it's part of that. I feel like that connecting to channel 3, because we're following that inner guidance from here as opposed to up here, right? That makes us doubt that space. And I just want to say a little bit more about that in case someone's watching this and they don't understand the channel 3 and channel 5, but that channel 5 is that intellectual side. And John started this 50 years ago to help people understand. It was so unusual, I'm sure, especially back then, even still now, for people to get this like left brain, right brain, going by what's in your head to what you're feeling in your heart, and trying to encourage people to feel what this channel 3 is, right? Which I think is an extremely good way to understand it. In fact, when I first came across it, I used to doodle hearts my whole life, and then I was at a seminar, and it really struck me. So I started doodling this all the time, because I wanted to remember to stay connected to my heart, to live from channel 3, which is what John talks about as well, and getting out of this headspace so that we can actually feel. And in his words, from my first seminar with him, he said, it all comes back to love, which is channel 3. And it just struck me so much that I knew that's what I wanted to be able to bring to my practice. And I think why so many of us end up outside of the system, because that is not recognized. It can't be. It's actually getting more towards channel 5 than going towards channel 3. And you all will appreciate this. Every seminar, how many times have we heard John say, as we've paired up, we've found someone to work with, the lights are low, and everyone's quiet, and we're getting ready to do the technique that he just showed us. And he'll say, therapists and patients, now say to yourself quietly, I let go, right? How many times do we hear that in our heads as we're treating, you know? And for those who may be confused, like I'm listening to this wondering, okay, someone who has no idea what we're talking about, they're probably still going, what are they talking about, right? So it is hard to put into words, but as we let go of that channel 5 or our intellectual side, that thinking side, that judgment side, and just feel inside our body. And I would, early in my being the patient career, right, being the person on the table, I had trouble with this, lots of trouble. This is why I was doodling this all over, because I'm just like thinking, even with the therapist's hands on me. And I'm like, okay, trying to, you know, just all this stuff that wasn't part of the work. And I started to say to myself over and over, feel like a mantra inside. As the patient's or the therapist's hands are on me, I'm thinking, feel until I could actually feel. And those letters, I made an acronym, F for feel, E to engage that, like to go where that therapist is, engage that sensation. And then the second E was to embrace it, because we want to run away sometimes, you know, we don't even know why. Like, it doesn't hurt. They're doing something gentle, but for some reason, our channel 5 brain wants to take us away from what is stored there. And we can't even put words on it, you know? So I would engage, embrace, hold it. Just hold whatever reason why I want to think right now. Just keep feeling and hold the space. And then L till I let go and let go. And it's almost like what I'm embracing, whatever it is, I might not have words. It just softens within my embrace, and then it slips through and lets go down into the earth away from me, you know? So that it took so much for me to be able to get to that point. So it's not something that's just so easy. And, you know, even that's why we repeat courses. Craig, you mentioned it, like repeating courses. And for some of us, we can go into this space easily, you know, or other times, maybe we did one time, we were able to go there, and then we are having trouble other times, because we're human and we're living in this environment where we're actually rewarded to be in channel 5, especially as therapists, especially as physical therapists, right, Rochelle?
Yeah.
So like, we have to really work to be in this channel 3 space. But I want to open this up more. So what else do you guys have to say, or is there anything you want to share about actually being the person unwinding? Any of you?
I just want to say something really quick. As you mentioned, you know, just saying, like me saying something to Jill, and then this group forming. But even that little interaction took channel 3, you know, because I was like, the class is over. We're just standing there. Should I say something to her? Should I not say something? Like, that went through my head. Like, what is she going to think I'm weird that I come up like her completely after class? But then I was like, no, I felt it in my heart. Like, I was so moved by her story that I was like, no, I'm in channel 3. I want to say something to her. I want to, at minimum, just tell her how I felt about her story. So, you know, we talk about channel 3 and channel 5 so often when we talk as therapists, or even with our patients, in reference to, you know, on the treatment table. But I think that little interaction kind of explains it in a way that is something that happens all the time with us. Like, so it just took me, like we say, channel 3 is your intuition. It like just took my intuition to say, no, I do want to talk to her. I do want to say something. Like, stop that little voice, that channel 5 voice that was like, should I say something? Like, no, shut up. You know, I wanted to talk. So it's just like that's you know, that's kind of like a more practical channel 3, channel 5 that we probably go through, you know, throughout our weeks and days, and, you know, with different things in our lives. Like, that's not necessarily treatment.
I'd like to add to that, if I may. So many times, you know, my prior life, you know, go to work, help help patients, like you said. I loved my patients as a PTA, but I'd go home and then I'd return to the state of who I was. Subpar, hermit, spent a lot of time abusing alcohol. It's almost like another life, you know, well, that's me for the world. And then I'm going to close that door and I'm going to come in and stay in my suffering because I don't know how to get out. And I'm, as we all are so eternally grateful to John, is he gave me finally the application. You take what you've learned, the channel 3, the channel 5, the doors were closed to the seminar and now it begins. So what you did there outside is you lived channel 3. And we all have an opportunity to live channel 3. Yes, we're fallible. Yes, we're humans. We get upset, but what a beautiful way of being that you kind of just let go of that control that can keep us in channel 5. And now with every interaction you make, we have the ability to channel 3 that interaction with that other beautiful person, no matter what the setting is. So again, John, thank you for a way of life beyond beyond treatment, physical, emotional, spiritual healing. It's a way to live.
Mm. Yeah, so beautifully said.
So thank you.
Yeah. You know, there's, go ahead, Craig.
Oh, quickly, yeah, to throw in that, just sort of putting into sort of practice, what does this mean as a therapist? Okay, let's explain a little bit more being in channel 3. So I think I said again in our previous meeting that integrating this touch, this being centered and letting go of the outcome. And we all, as John said, we all got taught to move things around in our different ways and fashion, try and make things happen. We've got some results with that. We did get some results with that. But then that next step, that inertia, that barrier of, and receiving and feeling someone just be absolutely with you, close in, listening, actively listening, not trying to make anything happen, just being with you and letting your body be in that safe space to start to connect and feel. That is the letting go, and then the sort of the way that as therapists we have to go through that to let go of that. And I think with just enough practice and integrating it, I got to the point of like, and John said it, he said, you'll get to a point, you'll decide, it's time to make the shift and get MFR as your main work. And I got to a point where it's like, that's it. I want to do this. I'm going to do deeper myself. I so adore that touch that I've felt, that I want to give that. I want to be that, and there's going to be that quietness in response from people, but you stay with it. The only way you're going to get to that connection is to stay. And so as a therapist, there's a letting go as well. And then you sort of get deep into that by receiving treatment. So for people listening and perhaps coming early into their MFR journey or learning what it is all about, an absolute important and a validity to some of the channel 5 stuff, the moving, the doing in a show up, connected, informed way, but then letting that intuition fly, letting that space be open to then give space to that deeper connection. If that makes sense I think that makes sense to all us here, and hopefully for people listening, that's what I've felt, and that's what I've stepped into, and I want more of, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I was thinking, Jill, as you were sharing about this recent experience in your first unwinding course, John will often say, you can only help take your patients as far as you've gone yourself. And if we don't keep growing and learning and letting go and getting to a new place, we can't help our patients get there too. How has your treatment changed coming back this time?
Oh, I think I can speak for all of us. Certainly, I don't know what's happening, but it's beautifully happening. Again, we've all had the patients, clients come in and they want to show you everything, and they want to point to every part that hurts, and and it's important to look at diagnostics and imaging, but they hang on. And so I remember, John, in this last seminar said, be patient with them, because you can be like, okay, okay, okay. But something beautifully is transpired. I'm like, why don't we continue? Why don't you go ahead and lay down? And they'll continue to tell me stuff, and I'll just kind of put my hands on him. So that may seem like such a simple little thing, but I'm able to get them on the table much more readily now. Um, little things that have just happened, as far as like some of my fellas who, they've got their logic on, and I just put that soft lavender eye pillow. Next thing you know, they're able to, twitch a little or unwind. And just so all these little things. But I think truly what's happening is there's a centeredness in me that wasn't there before, but they are feeling, because they're verbally responding to, I don't know what just happened, but I feel amazing. Or we've all heard it. It's what's transpired in me that they're feeling. And it's been profound, just beautiful. So again, repeating. I was arrogant to think I didn't need unwinding because I had 10 years of experience. Oh boy. Yeah, that's all fallen off. I'm like, I can hardly wait to have more. There's just, you learn
10 years,
every time.
just getting started, right? 10 years.
Yeah. It's like, oh,
well,
I was in my own way, for sure.
The continuation, the depth of the learning. And I want to share that observing John, I think someone went up and I think shared and said, I've not quite unwound yet. So John invited them onto the stage. And as John is with all, and as we try to take with our clients, and I'm learning to see, is the honor, the connection. I want to be the touch that I've felt of someone staying with me and not forcing and encouraging and nudging and gently challenging sometimes. And seeing John just stay with them, observe, adapt when it needs to happen, put a little bit of chaos in, and then the little pebble that keep the little avalanche for them to push through that next barrier to feel their body unwind and move was just incredible to see, and a reminder for all of us all, exactly that patience. And my clients, I came back supercharged as we do a little bit from being in the seminars. And yeah, a regular client said, yeah, you've changed a little bit. I said, yeah, I think I feel that. And so here we go. Let's work again today and go deeper, for sure.
I love that. Rochelle, do you remember the first time you really felt being connected into channel 3, especially as I feel like PTs, we're just taught to be so left-brained, I really think that John's work is the only place that this type of training has, happened. I mean, you're really going into what we refer to as channel 3, this other space of the emotions being stored in the body, that consciousness flowing through us. It's harder. It's hard for us, I think, in this world. What do you think?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I think, again, traditional PT training is very myopic and very, formula based. Like, so the person comes in with XYZ symptoms, and then, you give it a label, and then you give a set of therapies that you do for that, for that diagnosis or that label. And, you're really not taught to even to look elsewhere in the body, right? If they come in for a shoulder, maybe we look at the neck, maybe we look at the elbow, but we're not looking at the pelvis, we're not looking at the foot, you're not looking at their head, and it could be any of those things, right? Or all of them. And we're definitely, by the way, we're taught in PT school and in Channel 5, we're definitely not taught to think about emotions or, the person's story behind. Well, I mean, we have to get their story, but how their story impacts their physical symptoms, we don't really put those two things together, in PT school and in that Channel 5 mindset that, John teaches us to kind of move out of. And you said it before, Cindy, but, Channel 5 is very rewarded in this world, and like so I went to the unwinding seminar, which I was at with you guys. That was mid-March, and then right at the beginning of April, I took my husband to the healing seminar in Wilmington, and the healing seminar is a course that anyone can take. You don't have to be a therapist or have a license to touch. It's a 3-day, 2.5-day seminar, as are all of the seminars. But John designed this seminar specifically for non-therapists. And I had taken it before. And, I've wanted to take my husband for a really long time, and he's not a therapist. He's very Channel 5, very analytical. He's in finance. He's very black and white. And it was really great. I mean, we were able to go, we didn't bring the kids, and we were able to have a lot of discussions about this stuff. And, he said to me how in his world, especially, there's no room for Channel 3. Channel 5 is what's rewarded. It is, that's how you get ahead. That's how you make more money, the way his thought process goes. So, and it was interesting for me, I've been doing this work for a little while, but to have him hear those words at the seminar and be in the seminar with me. And then, so it wasn't John that was the instructor, because he's not traveling right now. It was Donna, but she was amazing. And Donna's just like a extension of John, I feel like. Donna's one of the other instructors. And she's just been with John for years and years. So she does an amazing job. And, so Donna said so many of the same things we've heard from John over the years. And just to then have those discussions with my husband afterwards about, his interpretation of it. And it made me really realize this is what most of our patients are coming in with, this mentality of Channel 5 and not really understanding, coming from your heart and coming from intuition. And, but it was a profound experience for both of us, that particular seminar. And, my husband got to experience, he's felt the work from me and from one other therapist, that the woman I go to, he's gone to a couple of times, but it was really amazing for him to experience it at that seminar. And Donna was able to work on him, which was amazing. And I don't know. So it just, it's very hard, I think, to switch the channel at times to Channel 3, but you have to work on it. And it is truly where healing happens. And I think as a PT, even though I've been doing this work for about 8 years now, it's still something I work on. It's still something that's on my mind, and that I'm constantly working to be deeper in Channel 3. And like you said, Jill, it becomes a lifestyle. And I think that part of it definitely takes time. It's, it's like increments. Like you get a piece of it, you kind of understand it a little bit in treatments or in seminars, and then you embody it a little bit more as the therapist with your patients, and then to embody it even further in life. Like that's like, a lifelong journey, truly. So yeah, but like you asked Cindy just about, as a PT. Yes, this was no part of PT school, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I remember when I was a PTA at 25, and fully mobile in my prime, out here in the Pacific beautiful Northwest, snowboarding, hiking, doing it all, mountain biking. And I treated with the protocols, and I did care for people, and I didn't understand why they weren't getting better with modalities. And but it wasn't until that severe of an accident where you do lose your mobility, both legs at once, wheelchair surgeries, and then the doctors that you trust so much who look at you and say, there's no reason you can't go back to work, yet you're taking a step, and it's excruciating. The pain, the fascial pain, no one could tell me why. But, things like, no one ever talked about getting therapy for losing so much. I also lost a child during that accident. I had a baby in the womb. It's not talked about. So, I know John has also talked about his experience when he was so hurt. And I remember thinking to myself about other PTAs and PTs. I'm like, some of them I was very angry with, as I've worked in many different settings and met many wonderful people. But sometimes I remember thinking to myself, boy, if only they got hurt, maybe they'd understand a little bit more. And of course, I don't mean that literally. But now it's just, there's there's a beautiful connection with the people come in, even though they're the clients and patients, even though they're living in a channel 5 world, they want desperately to be treated in channel 3. And they'll get there if because they've all been told, they've all been on the pain meds, they've all been to the pain clinics, surgery's your only option. I continue to pray and hope that they keep landing on our doorsteps because they're worth it.
Yeah. And Jill, you said something that just made me want to point out for people who don't fully understand what we're talking about yet, is that
Sure.
you had this horrible accident of the snowboarding thing and all that trauma, but not knowing until much later, seeing this work, that probably a lot of what was limiting your function getting over that accident was your trauma from years prior. And
So much.
never do we put this stuff together in
No.
traditional medicine.
Right.
It's just not even, this is the only place that I have even heard an inkling about it. I mean, a little bit, you'll hear things, people are talking about emotions in the body more, but
Yes.
they're dealing with that emotional side. And like Rochelle, you mentioned, like this, there's psychologists and EMDR and all these different modalities. And you and I have talked about that whole dilemma of, okay, this thought sounds really great, but they're missing the fascia. And well, they're talking about the physical part here, but then what about this part and the whole channel 3 and being centered? And I think as therapists doing this work, that's the whole thing. And you said it, Rochelle, this is a lifelong thing, the journey of going deeper and living in channel 3 and becoming more centered. And it doesn't mean that we're constantly centered. I mean, we still have to do left brain stuff and channel 5 stuff when we're looking at, and I'll tell my patients this, okay, let's see what your structure looks like. And we go through this kind of channel 5 stuff. And then I'll say, okay, that's channel 5. Okay, well, I did that. Now let's get on the table and let's connect. And then that's the centering. And John will say, center yourself, therapist, center yourself, patients, center yourself. Like, what that means is to let all that other stuff go and just be. And I often think about, what does a baby come in here with, right? Like, they're in channel 3 all the time. And so they're feeling and they're expressing, and then they're feeling and they're being, and they're centered in their environment, right? And to be able to, we lose that because as we get older and we're immersed in this society, even as a toddler, we've already started to come away from that natural state of being. And then we spend the rest of our lives, if we're lucky enough to find out about this, to be able to get back to that natural state of being. Don't you think?
Agreed.
100%. Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely.
Wow. This has been a great conversation, all of you. Thank you, Rochelle, for talking to Jill. Thank you, Jill, for your strength and expressing and sharing. And Craig, we had a wonderful experience. We unwound together, and I think the first day, and I didn't go into it, but there was definitely, it was interesting having a man, right? Like,
yeah, right.
I've had some trauma in that department, and it was like, it felt really good to feel your centeredness in a masculine way, to be able to help me work through some parts I hadn't worked through yet, because it's layers, and as we continue to get treated, and all of it is just wonderful. And Rochelle, being able to spend that time with you there, I'm so grateful for all of you. And if there's anything you guys want to say before we close, feel free. This is a great place to kind of wrap it up for now. But
just so grateful. I send my clients all the time to John's website, Myofascial Release, read his articles, talk about it, just continue to get the word out there. I have, as you do, I have plenty of channel 5 come in, and they like, should I stop my acupuncture? Should I stop my PT? No, it will only make it more efficient.
yeah.
But this has truly been the missing link. So I just encourage everyone. And I thank all of you for trusting your intuition to talk to me, because again, historically, this is something I never talked about, and it was never asked to be talked about, because it's, easier to run from pain. So thank you all so much.
Well, you're welcome. And I will put all of your contact information in the comments below of this video. So if anyone wants to reach out, we've got Rochelle in New Jersey, Craig in the UK.
Yeah, in Sheffield.
Yes, I'm in Toledo, Ohio. And Jill, you're in the Pacific Northwest. What's your city?
Spokane, Washington.
Spokane.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got it covered.
Yeah, we do.
Thank you
Awesome.
everyone
Thank
for
you.
joining us. And yeah, stay in channel 3, everyone.
Yeah, give it a
Thank
try.
you.
It's well worth it.